So, it has came to my attention that a duo has made a arithmetic song about Despia. I'm intrigued. This is the most exquisite thing. Soon, people will rue the day they have messed with Despia.
And because of this, I will show you the unlocked secrets of the deck.
What's going on with ya, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day, phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. The song that you heard is the branded Despia music video on YouTube by Master Duel Central featuring yours truly. And if you guys want to go ahead and listen to that song, I'll put the link down below in the description. But what's really crazy is that Despia right now is super slept on. I don't think that a lot of decks stand a chance, especially with some of the newer tactics that I've been using inside my deck. I can't wait to show them with you. I personally think that Despia is easily one of the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! And in this video, not only will I be sharing with you the cards that I'm playing, I'm also going to be sharing with you the new combos that you should consider playing inside of your deck. But of course, I always want to hear your opinion about Despia. Let me know down below in the comment section. Maybe there's some cards that you think that I missed playing, or maybe there's some special spice that you want to point out about this profile. As always, what we do with our profiles, if you guys want to see some test scans, I will be putting them on Patreon as a special thanks for helping me pay my editors. But without further ado, let's show you everything there is to know about Despia that is new, improved, and amazing. One of my favorite things about the branded Despia deck is its versatility. Being able to play this in so many different ways, giving you so many unique combinations, is what makes this deck special to me. In this particular version, I'm going to be showing you what I've had so much success with, but I like to think of this as a blueprint to the future versions of Despia decks. Of course, if you disagree with anything that I play, or if you agree with anything that I play, let me know down below in the comment section, as well as all of your experiences or experiences with cards that you've had inside of your Despia deck. Now, before I get into this profile, I'm pretty sure you want to know where I got the mat. This is actually, I think, the 4th time players have highly requested this Theater of Despair mat. It is one of my favorite mats that I have in my arsenal at TheCaliEffect.com. And I'm going to be excited to announce that you guys can pre-order these mats right now. Yet again, I am getting another amazing batch. So let's go ahead and jump on in. I went ahead and separated this deck into different sections to help explain why I played these particular cards. So in this particular build, I play a lower count of Despia monsters. I only play 3 copies of Aliber Jester of Despia and 2 copies of Despia Tragedy. And the reason why I decided to drop Dramaturge and Abliptum is because those monsters are really good, but since this deck is moving away from a Despia focused deck and more towards a Summon Albion branded type deck, I thought that the other ones were a little bit unnecessary, sometimes even bricky. But what I love about these particular Despia monsters is that this always gets branded fusion, and this will be able to set my branded fusion to my side of the field. Despia Tragedy actually comes up in so many ways, whether it's sending to the graveyard to my 1 copy of Foolish Burial, meaning that I technically play 6 Alibers, or banishing with an Albion to be able to search my Aliber, which I find is really, really helpful. To wrap it up, I played 1 copy of Despia Theater of the Brand, and I still think that this is one of the most busted fusion spell cards in the entire game. What's really weird is that this deck is almost a year old, and still people forget how Despia Theater can special summon a level 8 or higher fusion monster when one of your fairy monsters are destroyed, and Aliber can summon itself from the graveyard when your fusion monsters are destroyed, which creates a soft lock. Only 1 copy of Branded in Red. Since I did drop my Despia account, I decided to only play 1, and to be honest, I actually do not like this card anymore in the deck because there are so many rare occasions where I would have a Despia or a Fallen Albas monster in my graveyard to activate it, especially with the new combo. But in case I do decide to go into the old combo route, then Branded in Red is a really good way to be able to summon our Guardian Chimera and get a free banish with Mirror Jade. The last Despia theme card that I do play is one copy of Branded Banishment, and oh, look at that Dama Mama in the background. That's why I play it. But in all seriousness, this card is a pretty good counter to Tearlament, being able to banish their monster and fusion summon again, and allows you to get over a lot of dark strategies or just special summon a fusion monster from your graveyard to your side of the field, which is really beneficial. Branded Banishment is normally the card that I'm setting off of Albion at the end phase of my turn, but moving on into the Albaz branded engine, there's actually going to be some really cool cards that I think you should try out. Of course, there's 3 copies of Fallen Albaz. This card is completely ridiculous. I love how if my opponent does stop my branded fusion and I have Fallen Albaz in my hand, it's never punished. I can keep playing. But more importantly, what I found using a lot is actually using Albaz's effect to fuse off my opponent's monsters. It's a really good way to force my opponent to use card effects or getting over their board. But the card that I'm actually playing, which I think is really, really good, kind of techie, is I play 2 copies of Springen's Kit. Now, if you don't like Springen's Kit, these were originally branded opening to get into your Aluber better, but I found that this was actually a lot better, in my opinion, than playing branded opening. There's actually a few reasons why I really like Springen's Kit in this deck. The first is that players are starting to play a lot more Rivalry of the Warlords, and since Guardian Chimera is a beast, this card is actually a beast monster that allows you to fuse into Chimera to be able to out those cards. The second is that Springen's Kit isn't just a 4th and 5th Aluber like how it would be with branded opening. This card is actually an extender. It can summon itself to the side of the field after you've already used Aluber to fetch your branded fusion and fuse and get you other branded cards. The last thing is that Springen's Kit actually puts cards that I want back into my deck. There's a lot of times where I don't want this in my hand, and Springen's Kit helps me solve that. I really do like the Springen's Kit tech, and I'll continue to play with it. Let me know what you guys think about Springen's Kit. From here, one of the best cards in the deck is Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous. This card is amazing. It's completely cracked, and to be honest, I'm not even 100% sure why players aren't playing this card. It possibly could be that players are not hip to this new tech, and I will show you in the combo portion why Blazing Cartesia is just so good. It's essentially not only a card that you can send to the graveyard as a light target for branded fusion and gain to your hand every turn, it actually has a blowout combo for decks like Tearlament. From there, there's one copy of Albion the Shrouded. This card is a complete god card. I completely love this card because it's so easy to search into, and it allows me to get the perfect card into the graveyard. And then Tri-Brigade Mercurier. I've actually been using this card a lot more for its banish effect than its negation effect, which I think is really cool, but the negation effect does come up for me a good amount of times. Complement our Fallen Albaz and cards that mention Fallen Albaz. Of course, we play one copy of Branded Lost. This allows us to search any of our cards and protects us from cards like Havanus. Of course, there's 3 copies of Branded Fusion. This card is the bee's knees for the entire deck. And then one of my favorite cards, which is an ultimate counter to some of the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh!, is Branded Retribution. The first thing I want to say is that I completely love this card because at worst case scenario, it allows you to get your branded cards back into your hand by sending it to the graveyard. Best case scenario, it shuffles in your used Albaz fusion monsters, negates an opponent's special summon, and allows you to blow your opponent out of the water. This card is amazing. Now, the part that changes the deck completely, the reason why this deck is so different from the last Despia branded decks, is the Bestial monsters. I play 2 copies of Lubellion, 2 copies of Druid Swarm, 2 copies of Serenair, 2 copies of Magnum Hut, 1 copy of Regained, and 1 copy of Beast. This is incredible. I love in this deck that the Bestial monsters not only serve as a means of disruption, they also serve as a means of fusion, summoning, and gaining advantage, especially Serenair being able to send any branded card from your deck to the graveyard. That is huge. One thing that I do want to point out is that Bestial Magnum Hut is probably the worst Bestial. I like that it can add cards from my deck to my hand, like Fallen of Albaz and Albion the Shrouded Dragon from my deck to my hand. But overall, it's, maybe it's because I'm tired of my opponent using Dark to Dark Charmer to special summon it and gain their own card effects, but the Bestial engine completely changes the deck because it gives you interruption as well as play extenders, and it also completely changes how the deck is played. This is actually exactly what the deck needed to be able to keep up. And then finishing up with our engines, there's 3 copies of Edgem Chain, 2 copies of Polymerization, and 2 copies of Fright for Patchwork. I absolutely love this engine because being able to get into Polymerization to extend your plays or even start your plays sometimes is godly, but more importantly, Edgem Chain is the perfect discard fodder for this deck because it allows me to get more resources to my hand to be able to keep playing. Now, if you guys were counting, this was 39 cards. I typically love to play 42 cards in a lot of my decks. The last 3 cards I actually reserve for board breaker cards, even though I do play 6 Bystials. I think that 3 board breaker cards is pretty good. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More was my choice. And the reason why I chose Dark Ruler No More over cards like Super Polymerization is because this has more applications and more matchups. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you wanted to play them, you could play Super Polymerization. They are not bad cards. But I decided to go with Dark Ruler No More because Dark Ruler No More plus Albaz is almost the same thing. You can even play cards like Lightning Storm if you wanted to. I guess you could say that this is a free slot to play whatever you want to. And if you wanted to play 4 board breaker cards, if there was a card that I would drop in here, it would be Foolish Burial. But that's it for the main board. We're gonna go ahead and breeze through most of the extra deck cards as a lot of you guys should know them. There's 2 copies of Mirror Jade. I actually find myself wanting to drop this down to 1. I sometimes don't summon it a lot. 2 copies of Albion. I was running 3 until I figured out that it was unnecessary and I was just playing it bad. It's actually the reason why I still run 2 copies of Lubellion because you can shuffle in your Albion and your Mirror Jade. Keep in mind, as long as you have the correct fusion target, you can shuffle in Mirror Jade back into your deck and summon the same Mirror Jade. And the reason why this is true, to put it in layman's terms, is that you fusion summon at the end of the effect, the resolution of the effect, and not the start of the effect. So you don't need the initial target that you're summoning, but you do need an initial target to summon. Now, I played 1 copy of Albalinatus. This is the other Mirror Jade target. 1 copy of Titanclad. It's versatile. Really easy card to summon from Albaz. 2 copies of Predaplant Dragostapelia. This card is really good against both Tearlament and Sprite. 1 copy of Guardian Chimera. I really wish I could play 2, but I don't think I normally summon 2 in a game. 1 copy of Despia and Queritus, 1 copy of Masquerade for my Despia targets. I want to say that this is a free slot, but Garua's actually came up. There's so many weird times where I'll need to fusion summon and I'll have like 2 Bystial monsters in hand, so I'll just make this card. But I think you could drop this card, especially if you're not playing Super Polymerization. But if you do decide to play it, maybe drop a Mirror Jade for a monster like Wolo. That card could come up. And lastly is the Super Secret Spice. This card is nothing less of amazing. It's Mysterion the Dragon Crown. My guys, you're probably wondering, yo, Cali, you don't play Super Poly targets. Why are you playing Mysterion? Well, Mysterion requires a Spellcaster and a Dragon monster. Here are my applicable main deck dragons. Here is my Spellcaster monster. Wait, hold on, time out. This Spellcaster monster is a fusion card. Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous is completely incredible because not only does it allow me to fusion summon, I can do it on my opponent's turn. If I'm going against the Tearlament matchup or something like that and my opponent is trying to special summon monsters like Kid Kalos, I can then use Blazing Cartesia to be able to fusion summon in Mysterion and then banish all of their monsters on the field that are Aqua type. Tearlament players really have to respect this card as it can be a complete game ender. There's also a couple of other matchups where this card comes up, but I really gotta say the Tearlament matchup, spicy. But that's it for the main board and the extra deck. Let me go ahead and show you guys some combos. So the crazy thing about this is that we've pretty much built an entire library of Despia combos through our older videos. You can go ahead and check out those particular videos if you want to see some other Despia combos. And for my Patreon members, I will actually be putting some test stands up so you guys can see those as a special thanks for helping me pay my editors. I really do appreciate you guys. The new way to play Despia with the Bystial monsters, you're going to need Alibur, Jester of Despia, and any other card in your hand. I'm going to use Branded Regain because it's probably the best card in your hand to discard with Lubellion. And this combo can also be done with Spriggan's Kit, but of course, you're going to need an extra card to be able to use Spriggan's Kit's effect. Let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit for you guys, as we're going to go ahead and start off by normal Aluber. That's Alistair for you Zoomers. Boy, we add the Branded Fusion, just like the song. We'll then activate Branded Fusion, and this time around, instead of sending Despian Tragedy and Albaz, we'll actually send the Bystial Lubellion and Fallen of Albaz from our deck to the graveyard to be able to fusion summon into our Albion the Branded Dragon. Use the effect of Albion the Branded Dragon to be able to banish Fallen of Albaz and your Alibur. And here's where things get a little tricky, because here we're going to be able to fusion summon into our Lubellion, and sometimes it's actually beneficial not to use Lubellion's effect, but that's for a little bit later. We're going to discard the Branded Regained to shuffle the Lubellion this time around, as well as the Fallen of Albaz to be able to fusion summon into our Mirror Jade. From here, we will tribute off the Albion for the Bestial Lubellion, and then use the Bestial Lubellion to be able to place the Branded Beast to our side of the field. During the end phase, we have two options here, and both options, in my opinion, are fairly good. We can use the effect of Albion to be able to set Branded Banishment to our side of the field, which allows us to special summon Albion to our field and banish our opponent's card to commit a fusion summon into a monster like Dragostapelia. Or we can set a card named Branded Retribution from our decks to the graveyard, and when we use the effect of Mirror Jade to send another card, we can then use Branded Retribution, returning both of these cards back into the extra deck to negate another card, and use the Retribution's effect on the following turn to add Branded Fusion back into our hand. I personally feel that this combo is way stronger than the normal combo because it's a little bit harder to interrupt. The Bestial monsters won't stop you from resolving your Branded in Red because there's no Branded in Red to resolve. Also, in this particular situation, Branded Beast would get Branded Regain back to our side of the field. Now, you're probably wondering, Callie, why would I not use the effect of my Lubellion to fuse using itself? In this particular combo, I'm going to show you another really cool combo, but it's going to involve Edgem Chain and Aluber, Jester of Despia. I'm going to start off by normal summoning my Aluber, using its effect to get Branded Fusion, and you guys have probably seen this before, using Branded Fusion to send two monsters to the graveyard to be able to special summon Albion, and then Albion's effect to banish the Aluber and the Fallen Albaz. This is the reason why Branded in Red is not good, is because we're going to banish our Despia monster more often than not. We'll special summon our Lubellion using its effect, discarding the Edgem Chain to be able to fusion summon, but instead of using the Lubellion, I'm actually going to use the Aluber and the Fallen Albaz. They're going to go right back into our extra deck, and of course, we have a choice between Masquerade and Despian Queritus. I'm going to go ahead and special summon Despian Queritus to my side of the field, and then trigger the effect of Edgem Chain. Edgem Chain allows me to add a Frightful Patchwork, which will add a Polymerization and an Edgem Chain back into my deck. And hopefully you guys are seeing it. I'll activate that Polymerization, fusing both my Lubellion and my Edgem Chain into my Predaplant Dragostapelia, which requires one fusion plus one dark monster. And lastly, we will then tribute off the Albion to be able to special summon the Bestial Lubellion to our side of the field, which will in turn be able to place our Branded Beast to the side of the field. And look what we have here, two monsters that mention Albaz, so the effect of Albion can set our Branded Retribution, which is a free negation. This particular board is fairly deadly because we'll get two resources back into our deck, as well as a negation and recovery. We'll also be able to ensure that our opponent pretty much won't be able to destroy any of our monsters in defense position, and Bestial Lubellion and Branded Beast to be able to keep playing. Now, you're probably wondering, what is the peak in board for this particular deck? What does deck look like at its max? Well, there are actually quite a few 3 and 4 card situations that you could put yourself in that makes these boards even more deadly, but I'm going to show you one of my favorite with Aluber, Lubellion, and Edgem Chain. What we would do is normal Aluber, that's Alistair for the Zoomers. Come on, we're going to get the Branded Fusion, then use the Branded Fusion to be able to fuse. This time we'll use Blazing Cartesia, our other light monster, and we'll use Fallen of Albaz to be able to summon our Albion. Using the effect of Albion, we'll banish the Aluber and the Albaz to be able to special summon our Bestial Lubellion. And now Lubellion will use this effect, discarding the Edgem Chain to be able to fusion summon again. And ironically enough, you guys already see the writing on the wall. We could make the Mirror Jade, but more often than not, I'm going to go ahead and settle for the Queritus. We'll then trigger the effect of Edgem Chain to be able to get Frightful Patchwork, and then Patchwork into a Polymerization and an Edgem Chain again. And then I'll use a Bestial Lubellion's effect, discarding itself to be able to add Bestial Serenir from my deck to my hand. You won't believe what I got, guys. I got a fusion monster and a dark monster. I'm going to go ahead and use Polymerization, fusing both of these monsters into a Predaplant Dragostapelia. Then we'll trigger the effect of our Bestial Serenir here. We'll be able to send a branded Speller Trap card from our deck to the graveyard. I'm going to send Branded Regain. Albion will then get tributed to be able to special summon my Bestial Lubellion. And now Bestial Lubellion is going to trigger its effect to be able to place Branded Beast to my side of the field. And then of course EP, we can get Branded Retribution, or we can go ahead and set to our side of the field the Branded Banishment. But more importantly, you got to remember that Blazing Cartesia comes back into our hand for a follow-up play, and our inboard is going to look similar. Let's just say this: Branded Retribution to be able to stop a special summon, Despia and Quietus to reduce our opponent's attack of their monsters, Dragostapelia for a disruption, Beast contribute off the Lubellion, and I almost forgot, I have a Branded Regained on my side of the field, which will not only accumulate advantage for me, it can special summon Bestial Serenator to be able to send more branded cards to the graveyard, and Retribution to be able to add Branded Fusion. And that's pretty much what I have for the Despia combos. Again, guys, if you want to see test hands with this deck, go ahead and consider joining my Patreon. I really do appreciate all you guys here as you're helping me pay my editors. They are not some cheap boys, especially since we're starting up another channel. I hope you guys are doing nothing less than a phenomenal. Go ahead and check out these other videos, as I'll catch you on the next one.